Captain Tejo sat in his command chair and watched the stars through the window of his small ship. The Guardian was not a large vessel. It was a frigate, designed for patrol duty and nothing more. For 3 years, Tejo had commanded this ship in the quiet space around Harvest 7. And in all that time, nothing dangerous had ever happened. The colony below was peaceful. Farmers grew food in the rich soil. Scientists studied the planet's unique minerals. Families lived simple, happy lives. 340,000 people called New Pyongyang home. Tejo knew many of them. He had dinner with the colony governor last month. He had attended school events where children performed plays. Just yesterday, he had smiled at little Yunji, an 8-year-old girl who waved at him from the observation deck during a supply run. She had lost her front tooth and was proud to show everyone. The year was 2347. And humanity had finally found its place among the stars. 15 years ago, Earth had joined the Galactic Council, a group of ancient alien species that governed this part of space. Humanity was young, eager, and careful. They followed every rule. They wanted to prove they belonged. Tejo believed in those rules. He believed in civilization and law. That belief died in the next 6 hours. His communications officer, a young woman named Daun, turned to him with worry on her face. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission from a Vorath fleet. They are entering the system now." Tejo felt his stomach tighten. The Vorath Empire was one of the 3 great powers in the council. They were strong, old, and used to getting what they wanted. "Put it on screen," he ordered. A Vorath commander appeared on the display. The alien's face was hard and showed no emotion. "Human vessel. This is Commander Zalf of the Vorath Imperial Fleet. By order of the Empire, the planet you call Harvest 7 is now claimed under Resource Priority Treaty 47. The human settlement is illegal. They have 6 hours to evacuate. After that, we will enforce Imperial law." Tejo stood up quickly. "You cannot do this. We have settlement rights. The Council approved our colony 18 years ago." The Vorath commander's eyes were cold. "Check your treaties, human. Resource priority overrides settlement rights when strategic materials are discovered. Harvest 7 contains deposits we require. Your people leave, or they face the consequences. 6 hours." The screen went black. Daun looked at Tejo with fear in her eyes. "Captain, what do we do?" Tejo's mind raced. 6 hours to move 340,000 people? Impossible. The colony had only small transport ships. They could maybe evacuate 20,000 in 6 hours, and that was if everything went perfectly. "Contact Ambassador Ji Woo at the Galactic Council immediately. Contact Admiral Sang Wook and tell him we need the fleet here now. Contact the colony and begin emergency evacuation." The next hours were chaos. Ambassador Ji Woo argued desperately at the council. The other species listened politely, but did nothing. They talked about procedures and ancient treaties. They formed committees to study the issue. They promised to discuss it further in 3 weeks. Admiral Sang Wook was 3 weeks away with the 3rd Fleet. He gave the order to move at maximum speed, but physics did not care about emergencies. The ships could not move faster than light allowed. On Harvest 7, Dr. Heejin worked in the main medical center. She was helping coordinate the evacuation when the first families arrived. Parents carried crying children. Old people moved slowly. Everyone was afraid. Heejin tried to stay calm, but she knew the truth. They could not save everyone, not even close. Unji held her mother's hand in one of the emergency shelters. The little girl did not understand why everyone was scared. Her mother tried to smile, but tears ran down her face. "It will be okay, baby," she whispered. "Earth will protect us. They always protect us." Tejo watched his clock count down. 5 hours. 4 hours. 3 hours. The Vorath ships moved into position above the planet. He counted them. 15 heavy cruisers. His one small frigate had perhaps 30 missiles and a few energy weapons. Against those ships, he was nothing. When 30 minutes remained, Tejo made his choice. He turned to his crew. I am giving anyone who wants to leave permission to take the escape pods. What I am about to do is suicide. And I will not order you to die with me." Not one person moved. His weapons officer, a man named Jamin, spoke for them all. "We stay, Captain. For the colony." Tejo felt pride and terrible sadness at the same time. He nodded. "Then let us make them remember we were here." He opened a channel to the colony. "This is Captain Tejo of the Guardian. We will buy you what time we can. Get as many people off the planet as possible. Tell Earth what happened here. Tell them, Engreed." The timer hit 0. The Vorath ships opened fire without warning. Not at Tejo's ship. At the planet. Streaks of fire fell from the sky like rain. The first impacts hit the farmland outside the city. Explosions threw dirt and fire into the air. Then the bombardment walked toward the city itself. Buildings vanished in flashes of light. The medical center where Haijin worked ceased to exist in an instant. She did not have time to scream. The shelter where Yoonji held her mother's hand shook. The ceiling cracked. Yoonji looked up and saw the concrete falling toward her. Her last thought was confusion. Why would anyone hurt her? She was only 8 years old. Tejo fired every weapon his ship had. A few missiles struck Vorath's shields, and did nothing. He aimed for the smallest cruiser and fired everything at once. The enemy ship's shield flickered but held. Return fire came instantly. The Guardian's shield lasted 3 seconds. The next shot tore through the ship's hull. Tejo felt the heat and knew he was dying. He reached for the communications panel with his last strength. "Tell Earth," he gasped. "They came for our innocence. Tell them." The explosion cut off his words. The bombardment continued for 4 hours. The Vorath were methodical and thorough. They destroyed every building, every shelter, every ship on the ground. When they finished, New Pyongyang was a smoking crater of melted glass and ash. 340,000 people were gone. No survivors. Not one. In the silence after the attack, the Vorath fleet left the system. They transmitted a message to the Galactic Council. Resource Priority Treaty 47 has been enforced. The illegal settlement has been removed. The planet will be ready for Imperial mining operations within 1 standard month. Ambassador Jiwoo received the message on Earth. She watched the video, the Vorath included. It showed what remained of the colony from orbit. Just black craters where a city used to be. She saw melted playgrounds and burned fields. She closed her eyes and wept. The news spread across Earth like fire. Images appeared on every screen. Yoonji's school photo. Heejin's research papers. Tejo's service record. The list of names began. 340,000 names. The media read them aloud, one after another. It took days to read them all. The Galactic Council issued a statement. "We recognize the tragedy that occurred at Harvest 7. However, after careful review, the Vorath Empire acted within the bounds of established treaty law. We offer our thoughts and concerns to the human species during this difficult time." President Bo-Ra read that statement in her office. She read it 3 times. Then she called her military commanders. She called her weapons scientists. She called people whose job titles were classified above top secret. "Prepare Ghost Protocol," she said quietly. "We are going to war." The response had begun. President Bo-Ra stood before the Galactic Council for the last time. Behind her, screens showed the ruins of New Pyongyang. The images played on repeat. A child's toy melted into slag. A family photo burned into ash. The crater where 340,000 people had lived and loved and died. The council chamber was massive, designed to hold representatives from 60 different species. Today, they all watched the human president. Some looked uncomfortable. Most looked indifferent. The Vorath ambassador sat with his back straight, showing no shame at all. Bo-Ra had prepared a long speech. She had written pages about justice and law and civilization. She threw it all away. Instead, she spoke from her heart, and her heart was full of cold rage. "For 15 years, she began, her voice steady and quiet. "Humanity has followed your laws. Every single one. We have been careful. We have been polite. We have restrained ourselves because we wanted to prove we belonged in your civilized galaxy." She paused and looked at each ambassador in turn. "You have taught us that this was a mistake." The Kelson ambassador shifted in his seat. "President Bo-Ra, we understand your grief, but the law is clear. The Vorath Empire murdered 340,000 civilians," Bo-Ra interrupted. "They did not target military bases. They did not fight soldiers. They bombed children in shelters and doctors in hospitals. They turned a peaceful city into glass and ash. And you, this great council, you debated procedure." Her voice grew harder. "You formed committees. You promised to discuss the matter in 3 weeks. While you talked, they killed our innocents." The Thulian representative spoke up. "The Resource Priority Treaty is ancient law. We cannot simply ignore it because the results are unpleasant." Bo-Ra smiled, and it was the most frightening smile anyone in that chamber had ever seen. "Very well, if that is how your civilized galaxy works, then Earth is done trying to be civilized." She took a deep breath. "Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council. We withdraw from all treaties. We reject your laws. We reject your authority." Shocked silence filled the chamber. No species had ever left the Council voluntarily. The Vorath ambassador actually laughed. "You are making a mistake, President. Without the Council's protection, Earth is nothing. We could crush you." Bo-Ra turned to face him directly. "You should have thought of that before you killed our children." She looked back at the full Council. "For 15 years, you have seen Earth trying to fit into your galaxy. You have seen us being careful and controlled. You thought we were weak." She leaned forward. "You were wrong. We were not weak. We were restrained. There is a difference." "Are you threatening the Council?" demanded the Kelson ambassador. "No," Bo-Ra said simply. "I am telling you what will happen. Earth is going to war with the Vorath Empire. We will destroy their military. We will break their fleets. We will teach them that human lives are not disposable. And if any other species joins them against us, we will do the same to you." She straightened up. "We know where all your worlds are. We have been good students. We learned everything about you while we pretended to be harmless." The Vorath ambassador stood up, his face dark with anger. "This is suicide. We have 10,000 ships. You have maybe 500. Then this will be quick," Bo-Ra replied. "Come and try us. See what happens when you make humanity remember what we are." She walked out of the chamber without looking back. Behind her, the Council erupted into chaos. "Let them panic," she thought. They would understand soon enough. On Earth, preparations had already begun. General Dong Su stood in a military command center deep underground. Around him, screens showed ship movements and production numbers. The numbers were impressive, but they were also secret. For 15 years, Earth had been building in hidden shipyards beyond Neptune. The Council had only seen what humanity wanted them to see. "Admiral Sang-Wook has recalled all ships," reported one of his officers. "They are moving to the assembly points." Dong Su nodded. "Good. What is the status of Ghost Protocol?" "All systems are active, General. The hidden yards are at full production. We will have 60 heavy warships ready in 2 weeks. Another 100 in 6 weeks. Weapons status? Everything the Council banned is now in production. Kinetic kill vehicles. Hunter-killer AI systems. Antimatter warheads. Biological agents tailored for Vorath physiology." The officer hesitated. "General, some of these weapons are. They are terrible. The Vorath used worse on New Pyongyang," Dong Su said coldly. "They wanted to see what humanity was like before we learned to play nice. They are about to find out." In another part of the facility, Commander Na Young trained her special forces, the Reaper teams, they were called. Each soldier had volunteered after seeing the images from Harvest 7. Many had lost family there. All of them had the same look in their eyes. It was not anger. It was something colder. It was purpose. "Your mission is terror," Na Young told them. "When we hit Vorath worlds, you will infiltrate their cities. You will sabotage their military bases. You will make them afraid to sleep at night. They killed our civilians. We will break their soldiers' minds." One of her soldiers, a woman named Hyo Jin, raised her hand. "What are the rules of engagement, Commander?" Na Young's expression did not change. "No civilian casualties unless they are actively helping the military. We are not like them. But military targets? Commanders? Government officials? No mercy. No prisoners. We are teaching the galaxy a lesson about the cost of murdering human families." At a research facility, engineer Hyun-soo worked on something the Council would never understand. For 15 years, every time a Council species shared technology or information with Earth, Hyun-soo's teams had studied it. They had learned how Vorath ships worked. They had mapped Vorath computer networks. They had found weaknesses in every system. "We can shut down their orbital defense platforms," Hyun-soo reported to General Dong-soo. "Their security is impressive. But it was designed to stop physical attacks. They never considered infiltration through quantum-entangled communication nodes. We have been in their systems for months. They do not even know we are there. How many platforms can you control? All of them. Every single defensive platform in the Vorath Empire." Dong-soo smiled grimly. "Then our first strike just became much easier." Young Jae-min sat in a hospital bed on a rescue station. He was the only survivor from the Guardian. His escape pod had been found 3 days after the battle. He should have been grateful to be alive. Instead, he felt guilty. Captain Taeho had died. The crew had died. 340,000 colonists had died, and Jae-min had survived. General Dong-soo visited him personally. "Son, I have seen your record. You were the Guardian's weapons officer." "Yes, sir," Jae-min said quietly. "I need good weapons officers," Dong-soo said. "We are preparing a fleet for the first strike against the Vorath. I want you on it." "Also," Dong-soo said. Jae-min looked up. "When do we leave?" 3 weeks. Can you be ready?" Jae-min thought of Captain Taeho. He thought of little Eun-ji and her missing front tooth. He thought of all the names he had heard read on the news. "Yes, sir. I can be ready." "Good. Because we are going to teach them what it costs to kill humans." 3 weeks later, Earth's fleet gathered. The ships were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. They were black, angular, covered in weapons. No art decorated their hulls. No elegant curves softened their lines. They were built for only one purpose: to kill. Admiral Sang-wook stood on the bridge of the new dreadnought Retribution. Around him, displays showed 59 other warships in formation. Each one carried weapons banned by Council law. Each one was crewed by people who had watched their species get slaughtered and then ignored. "All ships report ready," his communications officer announced. Sang-wook took a deep breath. This was it. Humanity's first real war against an alien species. They were outnumbered. They were outgunned by the official count, but they had anger, determination, and 15 years of carefully hidden preparation. "Set course for Vorath's Prime," he ordered. "Maximum stealth. Let us show them what happens when they make Earth stop being civilized." The fleet vanished into faster-than-light travel, heading toward the Vorath homeworld. Behind them, Earth continued to build ships and weapons. President Bo-ra watched the fleet depart from her office. She knew what was coming. The galaxy would be horrified. The Council would condemn them. Other species would call humans monsters. She did not care. They had killed her people. Now they would learn what humanity was truly capable of. The war had begun. Vorath's Prime was celebrating. The capital world of the Vorath Empire shone with lights and festivities. They were commemorating the successful enforcement of imperial law at Harvest 7. Military parades filled the streets. Officers received medals for following orders. The emperor himself gave a speech about the glory of the empire and its rightful claim to the galaxy's resources. Nobody noticed when the orbital defense platforms went offline at exactly 0300 local time. The technicians monitoring the systems saw nothing wrong. The displays showed everything functioning normally. Engineer Hyun-soo had done his job perfectly. The platforms were still there. Still armed. Still powered. They just would not respond to Vorath commands anymore. They answered only to Earth now. At 0301, 60 warships appeared in orbit around Vorathis Prime. They did not arrive through normal space. They had been there for hours, hidden by stealth technology the Council did not know humans possessed. They simply dropped their camouflage all at once, filling the sky above the planet with dark, angular shapes that looked like death itself. Admiral Sangwook stood on the bridge of retribution and looked down at the glowing planet. Somewhere down there, Vorath were still celebrating the massacre of New Pyongyang, his hands clenched into fists. All ships, this is Sangwook. You know your targets. Military installations only. No civilian casualties. We are not like them. He paused. But make them remember this night for the rest of their lives. Open fire. 60 warships unleashed hell. The first targets were the shipyards. 3 massive orbital construction facilities where the Vorath built their fleet. Missiles and energy beams tore into them. Secondary explosions lit up the night as fuel stores ignited. Half-built warships broke apart and fell toward the planet's atmosphere. Burning up like falling stars, Captain Subin commanded the heavy cruiser Vengeance. Her ship's orders were to eliminate the Vorath Naval Academy. The complex covered 50 square miles of land near the capital city. She targeted the barracks, the training facilities, the command buildings, every structure that trained Vorath officers to follow orders like the ones that destroyed Harvest 7. Firing solution locked, her weapons officer reported. Fire, Subin ordered simply. Kinetic kill vehicles fell from orbit. They were simple weapons, just dense metal moving very fast. No explosives needed. When something heavy enough hits at orbital velocity, it releases more energy than most bombs. The Academy buildings vanished in flashes of superheated air. The destruction was precise and total. On the ground, Commander Na Young and her Reaper teams moved through the darkness. They had landed 3 hours before the fleet revealed itself, using small pods that looked like debris to any sensors. Now they moved toward the Imperial Palace at the heart of the capital. The palace was beautiful, a monument to Vorath power and history. Tall towers reached toward the sky. Gardens surrounded the buildings. It was protected by the Empire's best soldiers. Na Young's team moved past them like ghosts. Years of training on Earth, where humans had perfected the art of war over thousands of years, made these soldiers look like children, playing at combat. They disabled security systems. They avoided patrols. They reached the throne room in 20 minutes without firing a single shot. The Emperor was not there. He was at the celebration in the city. Good. Na Young did not want to kill him. Not yet. Death was too easy. Instead, she left a message. Her team used a device that carved words into the stone wall behind the throne. The letters glowed with a faint light that would last for years. The message was simple. 340,000. We are just getting started. Below it, coordinates. The location of every major Vorath military installation in their empire. Then they left as quietly as they had come. By the time Vorath security realized anyone had been there, the Reaper teams were already on their way to the next target. In orbit, the battle was not going as the Vorath expected. Their response fleet had launched within minutes of the attack. 150 Vorath warships rose to meet the 60 human vessels. It should have been a slaughter. Numbers always won. That was the way space combat worked. Lieutenant Jinho piloted his fighter from the carrier Harvest's Fury. His squadron of 20 small ships flew toward a formation of Vorath cruisers. The enemy ships were larger, better armed, and should have destroyed the human fighters easily. But Jinho had studied every battle Earth ever fought. He knew about kamikaze pilots from old wars. He knew about guerrilla tactics and false retreats. He knew that honor and glory meant nothing if you lost. So, when the Vorath cruisers locked weapons on his squadron, Jinho did not try to fight fairly. He led his fighters straight at them at maximum speed, then scattered at the last second. Half his squadron dove under the enemy formation. The other half went over. The Vorath ships tried to track them, but they moved too predictably. Their combat doctrine emphasized formation and discipline. Jinho's doctrine emphasized not dying. His squadron hit the engines of 3 cruisers before the enemy even realized they had been flanked. "Target locked," Jinho reported calmly. Firing. His missiles caught a Vorath cruiser's reactor. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. Jinho felt no joy, only cold satisfaction. One more enemy ship gone. One small payment toward the debt of 340,000 lives. On Retribution's bridge, Admiral Sang-wook watched the battle unfold. The Vorath fought with discipline and courage. They were not cowards. They were not weak. But they fought by rules they expected everyone to follow. Humans had no such expectations. When a Vorath admiral sent a transmission demanding honorable single combat between flagships, Sang-wook laughed bitterly. "Tell him we do not do honor, we do vengeance." 3 of his ships targeted the Vorath flagship at once. It died in seconds. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, 150 Vorath ships were destroyed or disabled. 12 human ships were heavily damaged. 2 were lost completely, including Captain Subin's Vengeance. Her ship had been crippled by enemy fire. She could have abandoned it. Instead, she aimed the wreck at the largest remaining Vorath battleship and pushed the engines to overload. Her last transmission was clear and cold. "For harvest. For every child you killed. For everyone who will never go home." The collision destroyed both ships. The Vorath fleet broke and ran. Admiral Sang-wook did not pursue them. His orders were specific. Military targets on Vorathis Prime. Send a message. Then leave before reinforcements arrived. He opened a channel to the planet. Every screen on the surface received his transmission. "People of the Vorath Empire. This is Admiral Sang-wook of the Earth Defense Forces. Today you felt fear for the first time. You watched your military burn. You saw your fleets break. This is a small taste of what you gave the colony of New Pyongyang." He paused. "We did not target your civilians. We are not monsters like your leaders. But understand this. Every military base, every fleet assembly point, every war college in your empire is now a target. You wanted humanity's colony. You can have the planet. But the price is your military power." He closed the transmission and gave the order. "All ships, withdraw. We have other targets waiting." The fleet vanished from Vorathis Prime as suddenly as it had appeared. Behind them, the planet's military infrastructure lay in ruins. Shipyards burned. The Naval Academy was rubble. 30% of their orbital defense fleet was debris. Young Jaemin sat at his weapons station on the destroyer Consequence and felt hollow. They had hit the enemy hard. They had done exactly what they planned. But Captain Taeho was still dead. Yoonji was still dead. 340,000 people were still gone. The ship's captain, a stern woman named Mi-sun, placed her hand on his shoulder. "Good work today, Jaemin. It does not feel like enough," he said quietly. "It is not enough. It will never be enough." Mi-sun's voice was hard. "But it is a start. And we are not done. Not even close." News of the attack reached the Galactic Council within hours. The images were shocking. The Vorath homeworld had been struck at its heart. Their military was crippled, and humans had done it with a force 1/3 the size of the defense fleet. The council convened an emergency session. The Kelson ambassador stood and addressed the chamber. "This is madness. The humans have violated every law of warfare. They must be stopped." Ambassador Haewon represented Earth now. She was not a traditional diplomat. She was a psychological warfare specialist. And she smiled as she stood to respond. "Stopped? By who? You?" She looked around the chamber. "Any species that joins the Vorath against us will be treated exactly as we treat them. We know where your worlds are. We know where your colonies are. We know how your ships work." Her smile vanished. "And we remember that you did nothing when our innocents died. So come try to stop us. Please, we could use more target practice." The chamber fell silent. The threat was clear and credible. Earth had just crippled the Vorath homeworld defenses in a single night. What could they do to others? President Bora watched the council session from Earth. She felt no triumph, only grim determination. The Vorath Empire still existed. They still had thousands of ships scattered across dozens of worlds. This was only the beginning of a long, brutal war, but the message was sent. Humanity was no longer the careful, polite species trying to fit in. They were something older, something that had conquered their own world of predators through cunning and ruthlessness. The galaxy would learn what that meant. The civilized mask was off. The war continued. 6 months passed, and the galaxy watched in growing horror as Earth methodically destroyed the Vorath Empire piece by piece. It was not a war anymore. It was an execution. 17 Vorath colony worlds had fallen. Not to invasion or occupation. Earth did not want their planets. Instead, human fleets would arrive, destroy every military installation, cripple the orbital infrastructure, and leave. The colonies themselves survived, but they were defenseless. Without shipyards or defense platforms, they could not rebuild. Without military protection, they had to rely on the very council that had failed to protect New Pyongyang. The Vorath fleet was reduced by 60%. Ships that took years to build were destroyed in minutes. Crews that trained for decades died before they could fight back. The Empire had always relied on their superior numbers and technology. They had never faced an enemy that did not care about fighting fairly. General Dong-Su coordinated the war from Earth with cold precision. His strategy was simple and brutal. Hit fast, hit hard, and never let the enemy recover. Every time the Vorath massed ships for a counterattack, Earth's intelligence network found out. Every time they tried to rebuild a shipyard, human strike teams destroyed it. Every time they thought they understood how humans fought, the tactics changed. War is not about glory, Dong-Su told his officers. It is about making the enemy unable to hurt you anymore. We will not stop until they surrender unconditionally. On the planet Vorath 7, a mining colony that supplied resources for the Imperial fleet, Dr. Minna watched her work succeed. She was a biologist, and she had done something that would make her famous or infamous, depending on who you asked. She had created a virus. The virus was not deadly to Vorath. That would be too much. Instead, it caused severe nausea and dizziness for about 3 weeks. It spread through the air easily, and it had been released in every major Vorath military base simultaneously by Commander Na Young's infiltration teams. Thousands of Vorath soldiers became sick within days. They could not fly ships. They could not fight. They could barely stand. Medical facilities were overwhelmed. The military ground to a halt while they tried to find a cure. By the time they developed one, Earth had destroyed 5 more shipyards. "Is this ethical?" asked Minna's assistant, a young scientist named Hyosung. Minna looked at her coldly. They vaporized 340,000 civilians, including children. They made that choice. This virus will not kill anyone, but it will make their soldiers too sick to murder more innocents. Yes, I think that is ethical. Pilot Tae Young flew his fighter with the call sign Harvest 7 painted on the side. He was the son of Captain Tae Ho, the commander who had died trying to protect the colony. Every day, Tae Young flew missions that would have been impossible 6 months ago. Every day, he painted another small symbol on his fighter to mark a destroyed enemy ship. Today, his squadron was escorting a convoy of Vorath prisoners being transferred to Earth. They had captured 30 high-ranking officers over the last few weeks. Not by chance, Commander Na Young's teams had specifically targeted them, stunning them, and extracting them during raids. These were the commanders who had given the order to bombard New Pyongyang. "Why take prisoners?" asked one of the younger pilots. "Would it not be simpler to just kill them?" Tae Young's voice over the radio was quiet but firm. "Because we are not them. We want justice, not revenge. These prisoners will stand trial for their crimes. If found guilty, they will be executed according to law. But they will have a trial, which is more than they gave to the people of Harvest 7. Do you think they deserve a trial?" Tae-young thought about his father. He thought about little Yoon-ji. No. But we do this the right way. Or we become the monsters the galaxy thinks we are. On Vorithus Prime, the Vorith Emperor sat in his palace and watched his empire crumble. Every day brought news of more losses. Colonies falling, fleets destroyed, officers captured, trade routes cut off. The economy was collapsing. Food shortages were starting on some worlds. His advisors argued endlessly. Some wanted to sue for peace. Others demanded they fight to the last ship. A few suggested trying to get the other council species to intervene. But everyone knew the truth. The Vorath Empire was dying, and Earth was the executioner. A message arrived from General Dong-su. It played on every screen in the palace, in every government building, on every military base. The human general's face was stern and showed no mercy. Emperor of the Vorath, this is General Dong-su of Earth Defense Forces. 6 months ago, you murdered 340,000 civilians in a single afternoon. You thought you were above consequences. You were wrong. He leaned forward. My fleet now surrounds your homeworld. We have 200 warships in orbit. Your orbital defenses do not work anymore. They belong to us. Your fleet cannot break through. We have you trapped. The Emperor felt cold fear for the first time in his life. I am not going to bombard your world, Dong-su continued. That would make us like you, and we are better than that. Instead, I am going to wait. No supplies in or out. No food shipments. No medical supplies. Nothing. You will sit in your palace and watch your people go hungry while you think about what you did to our people. The screen changed to show images from New Pyongyang. The melted playgrounds. The burned schools. The crater where a city used to be. You have one option to end this. Surrender, unconditionally. You, your war council, and every officer who participated in the massacre will be transferred to Earth for trial. The Vorath Empire will be dismantled. Your military will be reduced to police forces. You will pay reparations for 340,000 lives. The Emperor's face twisted with rage and fear. We will never surrender. Then watch your people starve, Dong-su said calmly. We can wait as long as it takes. Earth is patient. We have been planning this for 15 years. We can plan for 15 more if needed. The choice is yours. The transmission ended. True to his word, the human fleet simply waited. Ships patrolled in perfect formations. They did not attack. They did not threaten. They just blocked every route to and from the planet. It was a siege from orbit, and it was devastating. Within 2 weeks, food prices on Vorithus Prime tripled. Within a month, riots broke out in several cities. The Emperor's government tried to maintain control, but fear was spreading. Not fear of the humans attacking. Fear that the humans would just let them suffer. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council finally acted. The Kelson and Thulian ambassadors traveled to Earth under a flag of truce. They met with diplomat Hae-won in Geneva. The Kelson ambassador spoke first. You must end this. The Vorath Empire is on the verge of collapse. Millions of civilians will starve if you continue the blockade. Number 4. Hae-won sipped her tea calmly. They should have thought of that before they vaporized our civilians. Tell me, where was this concern when New Pyongyang burned? Where were you when we begged for help? The Thulian representative looked uncomfortable. We made mistakes. We admit that. But continued war serves no one. We are prepared to offer Earth significant concessions. Territory. Resources. A permanent seat on the Council's security board. We do not want your resources, Hae-won said. We want justice. What kind of justice? The Vorath Emperor and his war council will face trial on Earth for genocide. If found guilty, they will be executed. The Vorath Empire will be broken into independent states that cannot threaten anyone. Their military will be limited to defense forces, and every species in this galaxy will sign a new treaty. Harm human civilians. And this happens to you. No debate. No procedure. No committees. The Kelson ambassador's eyes widened. You cannot demand that. You cannot threaten the entire galaxy. HFY smiled without humor. We are not demanding. We are not threatening. We are telling you what will happen. Sign the treaty, or we continue. The Vorath are just the first example. Do not make us provide more examples. This is madness. No, HFY said quietly. This is Earth, reminding you that civilization is a choice. You made us remember what we were before we became civilized. Now you have to live with that knowledge. The ambassadors left without an agreement, but they knew the truth. Earth was not going to stop. The humans had crossed a line, and they were not coming back. On Vorthus Prime, the Emperor finally broke. 3 months into the siege, with his people starving and his government failing, he sent a message to General Dong Su. One word: surrender. The war was not over, but its end was clear. Earth had won, not through superior numbers or technology, but through absolute determination and a willingness to do whatever it took. The galaxy had learned a terrible lesson. Humanity was kind when they chose to be. But that kindness had limits. And beyond those limits was something ancient and ruthless. Something that had climbed to the top of Earth's food chain through cunning and cooperation, and a refusal to give up. The Vorath had learned that lesson in blood and fire. The rest of the galaxy watched and hoped they would never have to learn it themselves. The trial began 6 months after the Vorath surrender. The location was The Hague on Earth, in a building where humans had tried war criminals for centuries. This was fitting. The Vorath leaders had committed war crimes by any definition, and now they would face justice. The Vorath Emperor and 32 members of his war council sat in the defendants section. They wore simple clothes, not their elaborate military uniforms. Guards stood nearby, but there were no chains. Earth wanted the galaxy to see that this was a proper trial, not an execution disguised as justice. Judge Young Su presided over the proceedings. He was 73 years old and had spent his entire career in international law. His reputation for fairness was known throughout Earth, and now throughout the galaxy. Every species watched the trial on their screens. The Galactic Council sent observers. This was the most important trial in human history. The chief prosecutor was a woman named Ji Yun. She was only 35 years old, but she had lost her entire family when the Vorath raided a mining station 7 years ago. She knew what it meant to lose people to Vorath violence, but she also believed in law and justice, not revenge. The charges are simple, Ji Yun said in her opening statement. Genocide. The deliberate and systematic murder of 340,000 civilians. Men, women, and children. They were not soldiers. They were not a military threat. They were farmers, teachers, doctors, and families. The defendants ordered their deaths without warning, without mercy, and without legal justification. The Vorath Emperor's lawyer, a human named Kyung Suk, stood to present the defense. Earth had insisted on proper representation. The defendants had lawyers. They had the right to present evidence. They had everything required for a fair trial. My clients acted according to Vorath imperial law and Galactic Council treaties, Kyung Suk argued. Resource Priority Treaty 47 clearly states that strategic resources override settlement claims. They followed the letter of the law. Resource Priority Treaty 47. Whose law? Ji Yun responded. A law that allows the murder of children is not a law. It is an excuse for barbarity. The trial lasted 3 months. Witnesses testified. Videos from the bombardment were shown. Survivor accounts were read. There were no survivors from New Pyongyang, but there were survivors from the Guardian. Young Jae-min took the stand and described watching his ship die and knowing he could do nothing to save the colony. Then came the testimony that broke even the stone-faced Vorath Emperor. Elder Sung-hee took the stand. She was 81 years old. She walked with a cane. Her voice shook when she spoke. I had 3 children, she said quietly. 7 grandchildren. 4 great-grandchildren. They all lived on Harvest 7. My youngest great-grandchild was Eunji. She was 8 years old. She liked to draw pictures of flowers. She wanted to be a doctor when she grew up. Tears ran down the old woman's face. The last message I received from my daughter was sent 5 minutes before the bombardment started. She said, "Mom, we are scared. Please tell Earth to help us." I did not reply fast enough. Before I could type a response, they were gone. All of them, 16 members of my family, burned to ash in an afternoon. The courtroom was silent except for her quiet crying. Even some of the defendants looked uncomfortable. The emperor stared straight ahead, showing no emotion. After 3 months of testimony, evidence, and arguments, Judge Young-soo called for the verdict. The jury, composed of representatives from different Earth nations and carefully screened for fairness, deliberated for 2 weeks. When they returned, their decision was unanimous, guilty on all counts. Judge Young-soo read the sentence in a steady voice. "You are convicted of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity." The sentence, under Earth law and the principles of justice that govern civilized behavior, is death by firing squad. The Vorath Emperor finally showed emotion. Fear flickered across his face. "This is murder. The council will never accept this." "The council," Judge Young-soo said coldly, "watched while you murdered our people and did nothing. Their opinion is no longer relevant to us." He struck his gavel. "Sentence to be carried out in 30 days at the site of your crime." Harvest 7. 1 month later, a crowd gathered on Harvest 7. The planet had been declared a memorial world. No one would ever live there again. In the center of the crater that was once New Pyongyang, workers had built a simple platform. Behind it stood a wall with 340,000 names carved into black stone. It took days to read them all. The Vorath Emperor and his war council were brought to the platform in transport ships. They saw the crater. They saw the names. Some of them looked away. Others stared in what might have been horror or might have been defiance. Elder Sung-hee stood with 11 other family members who had lost everyone on Harvest 7. They had been given the honor of commanding the firing squad. Earth military personnel stood ready, but the command would come from those who had lost the most. General Dong-soo read the charges one final time. "You are convicted of the murder of 340,000 civilians. You showed them no mercy. You gave them no warning. You ended their lives for nothing more than greed." He stepped back. "The sentence will now be carried out." The condemned were lined up against the wall of names. Elder Sung-hee walked forward with her cane. She looked each of them in the eyes. Her voice was steady when she spoke. "This is for the children. For every life you took. For every family you destroyed." She raised her hand. "Ready. Aim. Fire." The shots echoed across the silent crater. When the sound faded, the 33 Vorath leaders were dead. Justice, by Earth's definition, had been served. The galaxy watched. Some species called it barbaric. Others called it justified. Most just felt relief that they had not been the ones to test humanity's patience. 5 years passed. The galaxy changed in ways no one had predicted. Earth held a permanent seat on the Galactic Council's Security Board. Every species had signed the treaty President Bo-ra demanded. Harm human civilians, face the consequences. No one tested that treaty. Earth's fleet remained the largest in known space. A constant reminder. The former Vorath Empire was now 7 independent nations. They followed council law religiously. They rebuilt their worlds with Earth's help. Not out of kindness from Earth, but as a demonstration. "See what we can do when you do not murder our children," President Bo-ra had said. The message was clear. Admiral Sang-wook retired and became the director of the New Earth Defense Academy. He taught young officers one primary lesson. We are civilized by choice, not by nature. Never forget what we can become if that choice is taken away. Commander Na-young continued to lead special operations, but now her teams worked on anti-piracy and rescue missions. She still trained them hard. "The galaxy is peaceful now," she told them. "Because they remember what happened when it was not. We maintain that peace through strength." Young Jae-min became a captain and commanded a patrol ship near New Pyongyang. Once a year, he visited the memorial. He stood among the names and remembered Captain Teho, his first commander. He remembered what humanity had done to answer the massacre. Pilot Tae Young became an instructor at the Fighter Academy. He kept his fighter with Harvest 7 painted on it in a museum. Students would come to look at it. What was it like? They would ask. The war against the Vorath? It was necessary. Tae Young would reply. But I hope you never have to do what we did. Peace is better than vengeance. Civilization is better than war. Remember that. But also remember that if someone threatens our people again, we know how to stop being civilized. On Harvest 7, Ambassador Ji-woo stood at the memorial. She had been Earth's voice at the council before the massacre. She had failed to protect the colony. That failure haunted her every day. Commander Na-young found her there. You are not responsible for what happened. Na-young said gently. I should have done more. Argued harder. Made them listen. They would not have listened. Some lessons can only be taught through pain. Na-young touched one of the carved names. We are civilized beings. We believe in law and justice and peaceful cooperation. But underneath that, we are still the species that conquered Earth. The species that survived ice ages and predators and each other. The Vorath forgot that. The galaxy will not forget again. Do you think the peace will last? Na-young looked out across the crater. At the memorial to 340,000 dead, at the symbol of humanity's fury and justice. As long as they remember, as long as they know we could do this again if we had to. She turned to Ji-woo. We are kind by choice. We are civilized by choice. But choice can always be revoked. They stood together as the sun set over Harvest 7. Over the names of the dead. Over the crater that changed the galaxy. Somewhere above them, Earth's fleet patrolled the stars. Watching, protecting, remembering, the galaxy was at peace. Not because everyone loved each other. Not because all conflicts were resolved. But because every species understood one simple truth. Do not make humanity remember what it was before it learned to be kind. Do not threaten human children. Do not test the limits of Earth's patience. The lesson had been taught. The price had been paid in Vorath, blood and broken fleets. And the memorial on Harvest 7 stood as an eternal warning. Earth keeps its word. Push them, and they will stop being civilized. Push them, and they will show you why they are the apex predator of their world. The war was over. But its shadow would last forever, a reminder of the day the galaxy learned to leave humanity alone.